Uh, Andrew, we really don't want to speculate, but the mind does think about these things. What do you think will happen going forward? Now, all of these developments, Trump's tweet, what do you think will happen going forward? Because Venezuela, even though it's a smaller country with lesser of military prowess, how do you think this will progress further?
Well, as I mentioned before, because it's a total violation of the United Nations Charter and international rules, and it rattles the sense of national security of Venezuela's neighbors, and including countries around the world. That's why the whole world is now voicing their concern. I think that it's likely to lead to a convening the United Nations Security Council to discuss this. And in fact, Maduro also said he's
Please for
open for
interrupting you. I'll come back to
negotiation.
you. Please hold that thought. I do have Commander Bhushan Diwan, defense expert from the Indian Navy, of course, joining me. Now, Commander Bhushan Diwan, we've been discussing this since morning, and I just want to begin by asking you, how do you see the attack on Venezuela and all of what Trump's doing? Because we're getting more tweets coming in from Trump, and he's also spoken about Maduro's capture. What do you have to say for that?
I think it is height of hypocrisy. Mr. Trump, since January 2025, has been trying to really shake up the whole world by his erratic decisions from day one. Sometimes tariffs, sometimes Greenland, sometimes NATO's being bullshitted, sometimes Zelensky is, given a dressing down, and sometimes he goes towards side of. So this erratic behavior should be checked very squarely. But I think this check will not be checked squarely by our talking. It looks to me, though the news are that the president of Venezuela has been captured, has been arrested by the American forces. Despite that, and despite the so-called Monroe Doctrine and spheres of influence story, which is there for many, many years now is not the era for these kinds of things which Trump is doing. I think he should get his comeuppance from Russia. He should get his comeuppance from China. Or 10 hours back, Chinese foreign ambassador has met the president of Venezuela, and thereafter this kind of thing has been done. There's all flimsy excuses just to, gobble up Venezuelan oil. That's all. That reminds me of what Bush did to Iraq, and 30, 40 years back. This is the same thing being repeated. It's time these things are checked by the world community squarely, and then only this thing will stop. Because this approach of talking of big things, big values, and non-interference and so on, and trying to interfere and attack. Forget interference and forget lecturing. Forcibly attacking a country. The question is that, militarily speaking, Venezuela is no match for USA army, armed forces. But then we can't say anything. Time was there when in 70s, Vietnam was no match for America. They gave America a taste of their high-handedness, and they ran back to America with their tails tucked in. And same thing happened in Afghanistan as far as US is concerned. I think this is current century is not the one to indulge in these antics. This is really sad day for the full world, and trying to disturb economically, militarily the whole world, trying to be one man king of the world, emperor of the world. That is all that can be said now. Militarily speaking, let's see how it comes out, because how Venezuela, South America, the guerrilla action which they have been preparing, how that pans out, because sanctions have been on Venezuela for almost 6 years now. So let us see how it goes forward.
Commander Bhushan Diwan, now this is of course also a little bit of a Monroe Doctrine reboot and Trump's recent foreign policy shift to reassert US dominance. Now, just for the benefit of our viewers, let's talk about what really the Monroe Doctrine was.
Yes, Monroe Doctrine was that carving out spheres of influence. If we take our mind to before Second World War started. It lasted from 1939 to 1945. FDR, the then president of USA, Roosevelt, was not keen to join the war. Finally, when Churchill was attacked by UK was attacked by Hitler, Churchill went and tried to plead with the Roosevelt to come and join the Europe, defend Europe, and that is how Roosevelt came in. But after Roosevelt coming in, of course, the tide of the war turned in favor of allies. Allies meaning UK, USA, even Russia was, the then USSR was also with them, and it turned against the, Germany, Japan, Italy, the these forces. And then what happened is that they won the war, and thereafter they carved out spheres of influence. That look here, Western Hemisphere is with us, so South America fully is with us. Historically speaking, we all know, barring two countries in South America, Latin America, that is, all countries were dominated by Spain, ruled by Spain. And few countries like Brazil was ruled by Portugal. So thereafter, this kind of thing, the sphere of influence was carved out. Look here, your territory is your territory, Eastern Hemisphere, but you don't look at Europe should not look at turn a blind eye if South America is America's baby altogether. Don't look here. But now Russia is a Eurasian power. So I don't. Russia has given a statement already. So has China. So I think Monroe Doctrine can't be. Those days are gone. Monroe Doctrine and Marshall Plan and those things are all over now. For example, Marshall Plan is a connected story. Well, it came later, much later. It came after Second World War. Namely, that if the Germany and Japan, the Axis powers will be not allowed to maintain their army because they, in the Nuremberg trials which happened in Second World War, these countries, they were the aggressors, namely Germany and Japan. So because they were the losers of the war, they were told, look here, you will not maintain a strong army. So but Europe was devastated. America said, we'll help you out a lot of money. That is how Marshall Plan was given to Europe. But now, what has happened? Things are changing. Now, Trump has told NATO, look here, we will not carry your defense burden anymore. Look after yourself. We will not look after it. And even Germany, even Japan, they are beginning to develop their armed forces because US is also saying, look here, you take care of Russia, fight with Russia. We will not intervene in this. So these things are changing in big time, and trying to rock the boat like this is just not done. And so Monroe Doctrine was this sphere of influence story, to come back to your main question, Vishali.
All right. Commander Divan, now there was a big statement that previously came out from Cuban president who's denounced strikes in Venezuela as a criminal attack by the US. And they're condemning it completely. But, is it also affecting the neighboring countries really?
Surely it will, because when this big brotherly attitude of USA is bound to cause ripples and in the minds of all the Latin American countries, South American countries. And I must tell you, Cuba's history. Cuba was, after all, that the 1962 missile crisis. Perhaps our viewers will know it. John F. Kennedy was the president of USA, and Nikita Khrushchev put nuclear missiles at the off Texas in Cuba, at the so-called at the doorstep of USA. And and Kennedy called it off, saying that, look here, Mr. Khrushchev, take off your missiles, otherwise we will come out with the nuclear weapons. Exactly same thing has been done 4 years back by USA, namely that putting Ukraine, the presence in Ukraine of NATO forces. NATO means Western Bloc, USA, Europe, everything. They've done it. So they are known. The Western world is known to saying one thing and going back on their words, only on one basis. If I have the military might, I can do anything. And so USA has 800 bases, military bases all over the world. But the time is coming, USA has got to realize that it's a waning power. But China is a rising power. USA is a waning power, and therefore time has come now that the America has to really think of in terms of rolling back the military presence and big brotherly attitude and ruling whimsically all over the world. Those days are gone. And even time is coming now that on one side of the time is coming now when UNA will have to UNO private P5 members, all that will have to change in light of the new reality. And so this is a time in any turmoil like this. I think there's an opportunity in any challenge. There is an opportunity which has come up, and USA is threatened. You see, threatened in the sense that with BRICS coming, with dollar supremacy going away, America's basis of America's supremacy is APO, armament and pharma and oil. APO is not Army Postal Office, is armament, petrol, pharma and oil. On these three, they dominate the world. And how do they dominate with arms? Try to make neighbors fight, make sure wars keep happening so that whether it's Afghanistan or anywhere, so that their armament industry keeps churning out output and let the people be killed. Doesn't matter. And oil, of course, oil is a petrodollar, oil dollar supremacy. That is also being going to be called off. You know how countries are saying it, why Libya was attacked, why Saddam Hussein was attacked. Because they said, look here, Mr. America, we are not going to, deal in sell our oil in dollars. We'll deal in our own currency. And now you see Russia, many other countries, Iran, many other countries are thinking of doing. Saudi are doing deals in not in dollars. So dollar supremacy is also challenged. And dollar supremacy actually is the real power of the America, real power of America, real power behind America is a dollar, and petrodollar. So that's also coming away. So the America is getting unhinged, and Trump is going one step forward to make try to capture oil here and there, and those things. I don't think this will really bounce back on USA big time, and even Trump also, because I am not certain in his own political colleagues, whether Republicans or Democrats, to what extent they support America on this kind of behavior.
Now, Commander Bhushan Dewan, my question to you is that in terms of these major explosions in the dock area and land strikes that are happening in the coastal facility, what kind of weaponry really has the US used?
They're very simple. It is nothing, because this is a small target for USA Armed Forces. It's a very small target, and I mean, you can see the level of exposure and vulnerability on the part of Venezuela, that American helicopters have been attacking it. And you see there, so I don't think it's a militarily a big challenge, and all kinds of weapons are being used. And but they don't. I don't think America needs to use very major weapons. And it's not a major enemy. Venezuela is a major military power, so all this is being used. But now the whole issue is that to what extent, let's say Russia or China, they come to sort of, are able to intervene effectively in this matter. If not militarily, in what fashion, that is yet to be seen. But it looks to me somehow this kind of attack was in the offing. It was, it was anybody's guess. It'll start any day. A minor excuse like Chinese ambassador meeting the Venezuelan president, and it has sparked off this kind of set up a chain reaction like this. But that's not at all an issue, that what arms, to my mind, what arms, America is going to use. Because Venezuela is a minor military target as far as USA is concerned.
Commander Dewan, the question really is that, these are very small countries. Ultimately, the population is affected. Now, in terms of Venezuela, do you think, I mean, Iran has spoken, China has spoken. Previously I was speaking to a defense expert who was also saying that the UN has been silent in all the issues as far as Trump is concerned. Do you think, what are the ways to de-escalate the situation in your view?
Very good question. And this is the point I was making briefly before, slightly before this, that, UNO has proved itself to be handmaiden of the Western world. That is the reason they have, that's the reason they have, that, I mean, we know it. I'm just taking your mind back to the, UN resolution saying that Iraq has WMD, weapons of mass destruction, and the legal strength of UN resolution, UNSC, Security Council resolution. America, UK, they attacked Iraq and found no weapons of mass destruction. So it's years together, decades together. This BWI, Bretton Woods institutions, and IMF and World Bank, all these institutions they have outlived their utility in life. They are defunct. They become totally partial. So the UNO is working as handmaiden. I will give you a small example, Vishali. I went to attend a conference in Geneva in 2019, November 2019, peak of winters as far as Indians are concerned in Geneva. It was business and human rights. And I was shocked to see, I mean, this is the problem. This is the control the USA has over UNO. So I'll just tell you, because they have the money. So I want to tell you that in that OCHCR building, there were huge elevators, like the ones, escalators. Escalators also and elevators also. Escalators are like the ones we see in the, malls and all that. They were all lying shut. Huge escalators lying shut. And people were going only in the lifts, And in those lifts, so I asked them, what is the problem? So many delegates from all over the world for this 3 days business and human rights forum. How come these escalators are not working? It's shocking. This I'm talking November 2019, 6 years back, 5 years back, 6 years back. He said, we don't have money to run the escalators. Can you imagine? So this is the kind of control USA has. Their new and headquarters of UNO are in New York. So all funding. So once USA stops funding, UNO is a big bureaucracy in the world. You see, that is all. The biggest bureaucracy of the world is UNO. So the UN. So they are, once the funds are dried up, they start listening to them, to the USA. Same WHO. COVID time, we all have seen it.